Hey up everyone. I am just sitting about and I'm quite bored actually, so I thought now would be a great time to do an unscripted off the cuff video featuring the Jacqueline Wilson books. I did film a vlog to tell you about these as I was reading them. However, then I dramatically drowned my phone because it was pissing me off and lost all of the footage from that video. So here we are in this dilemma, in this solution, may I say, that I have created myself. If you'd like to feel like this is vaguely vlogish content, what am I doing today? Nothing. I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna film some videos, I'm gonna do some exercise, and I'm gonna read. Not reading these at the minute, I've already read these, and I've quit with the Jacqueline Wilson books for now. If you want to know what I'm reading, it's Interview with a Vampire. What order did I read these in? Cookie came first. Cookie was released when I was like currently reading Jacqueline Wilson books, and I remember being really excited to read it because not only do I love cookies and I used to eat 3 of them every day for breakfast, but I thought that I looked like the girl on the cover. I thought that this would be me. And if Nick Sharratt was to illustrate me for a Jacqueline Wilson novel. The character of Cookie is not very much like me. She's a very sweet and shy girl. The story is about her dad's very controlling. He likes everything just so. And her and her mum deal with it for so long until something awful happens and they run out on him and start this new life in this place called Rabbit Cove, which is like this little seaside town where they go and like sell cookies and work in a bed and breakfast and stuff. Classic Jacqueline Wilson at this point, as we know. Something that I noted about this book was that on the cover, the dad is smashing a rabbit cookie. And that is because during the course of this book, Busey, the main character, gets a pet rabbit for her birthday from her friend. Her dad has never like allowed her to have pets. He says they're too messy and stuff. And the friend brings this rabbit without asking anybody, and so he kind of just has to go along with it. And then when they're all getting into the limo to go to Beauty's disastrous birthday party that she never asked for, the dad hangs back for a minute, and then when they get back from the party later on, they find out that the rabbit has been let out of the hutch, and obviously like the dad admits to doing it. The rabbit is behind the shed, and like I don't know, the parents say a fox did it, but I think the dad kicked the rabbit's head in. I think that this picture here is confirmation enough that the dad kicked the little rabbit's head in. And that is why, like, I remember hating this dad a lot when I was younger, and I wondered when I started this book why I hated him, like, more than, say, Lola Rose's dad, who was, like, violent. But now I completely understand because it kicked the little rabbit's head in. And, you know, that, more than anything, deserves a TW, and I just did not give you one. The thing that I liked about this book was that Beauty's mum got to like, go on and find an identity separate from Beauty's dad, because her dad had this really like set idea of what his wife and his child should be like. So like Beauty was meant to be this like soft girly little girl who can like dance and sing and is outgoing and talented and has lots of friends and is popular and blah blah blah. And Beauty's not like that, so he's very like disappointed in her, and it shows very clearly. Like he's not afraid to tell her that she is a disappointment to him either, which is like nasty man. The way that he thinks of his wife is, you know, she's not very bright and he's the man of the house and he looks after her because she's stupid, right? And she needs a man to look after her. She goes along with this for so long, and like she says she's thick and she's no good at anything and stuff, but then she starts making cookies for Busey, and it becomes this thing that they do together, and it's really sweet. But also the mum finds out that she's actually quite good at it, and once they move away, mum kind of gets like starts making a career out of it and actually starts, you know, doing something with her life separate from just being Beauty's mom or this guy's wife, right? And I like that because although the stories are about the kids, obviously their parents are a big part of it. And in the other similar stories that we've seen where there's been a split between the parents, like in Lola Rose, her mum just kind of got into another relationship with another guy and relied on him. And then she tried to go back to the dad, and luckily Auntie Barbara came along and smashed his head in and stuff. But Rose's mum unfortunately never got to have like an identity of her own. And even in Clean Break, which was a lot more of a positive story, and like the dad in that wasn't that bad, the mum in that kind of just spent the entire book pining for Frankie to come back. So it was nice in this book to see like a mum character leave her husband who wasn't treating her very well and like go out and like prove that she didn't need him and like she was better even without him. She actually does receive opposition from the dad's ex-wife, who they go to first when they run out, and she says like that they're being stupid and they have such a good life with him, like why don't they just put up with a little bit of controllingness to have this good life? And it's like, well, just because you have a good life and other people would give up their lives to be in your position, that doesn't mean that you're going to be happy in that life. And I think that happiness is a lot better than like material gain, right? I think the last thing that I really wanted to talk about with this book was just how sweet the Sam and Lily thing going throughout it. He likes this kid's TV show called Sam and Lily in the Rabbit Hutch. It's babyish or whatever, and there's this message there about enjoying the things that you like regardless of what other people think. Aside from that, she does get to meet Sam and Lily at the end, and I just think it's really sweet, and I just really felt for her because Busey was this really sweet and shy girl all the way through the book, and it felt like she'd been through so much. She, you know, she deserved this at the end, and like Sam is an icon, just soft, sweet man with rabbits on children's television. Love him. The next book I read was Secrets, and I didn't really have a lot to say about this one. I felt like there was a lot less detail in this one, and that's probably because the narrative is split between two different girls, so we didn't really get to go into their lives a lot and explore their families too much. Especially Treasure, this girl here, missed out a lot because she had a more complex family dynamic and a bigger family, and so with the narrative being split between her and India, her friend, there just wasn't a lot of time to explore what was going on there in a lot of depth. And I feel like when I was younger, I probably wouldn't have minded, and that's why I used to love this book so much, but now I probably wouldn't rate it as high as some of the others. Regardless, there were some really good things about this book, like, for example, I love the whole exploration of classism here, and that wouldn't have worked if we hadn't had the split narrative, so there you go. Basically, India's from the posh part of town and Treasure isn't, and they're best friends anyway. When Treasure is on the run from her abusive stepdad, she hides in India's attic because India's kind of this weird, morbid little girl who's obsessed with Anne Frank. She legit hides Treasure in the attic for like a week or something, and there's like a national hunt for Treasure with her parents on the news and everything, and like India's just got her in the attic, man. Quite mad, and it's quite ridiculous and outlandish, but then again, there's stuff like this happening kind of on the regular in the real world, and you can definitely see two kids getting into this situation, so it's not completely out of the realm of possibility. I remember when I was younger, I thought the idea of having your best friend hidden in your attic was like the coolest, most romantic thing ever, and it's like, oh, I can have my best friend around all the time and no one would know, like, she doesn't have to go to school, she's here for me at all times. I think the one thing that I did really want to touch on about this book was the Wanda storyline. Wanda is India's au pair, right? Her nanny or whatever. Throughout the book, there's these clues that she's having an affair with India's dad. And the implication is that India's dad has these affairs with, like, all of the au pairs that come through the house. All these young women, like, come to the house and he just, like, has sex with them and then they move on and to their next placements and he just forgets about them and moves on to the next one, right? And I don't know whether his wife knows about this or what. That's not really implied, but India finds out about it through the course of the book because Wanda gets pregnant. At the end of the book, like, India, like, accidentally reveals this in a fit of passion and Wanda gets sent away. And apparently India's mum told her that Wanda had been sent to this special facility to get some rest. And India's like, no, I think you sent her away to get rid of a baby. And her mum's like, don't be ridiculous. And I'm like, that's literally what happened, isn't it? So a subplot of this book where there's already a preteen getting abused by a stepfather and two preteens deciding to hide her in one of their attics. And it's like just for like a kidnapping case, essentially. A subplot in this book is like an au pair comes over to like seek opportunity in the UK, like from Australia, and she gets like used and dumped by the rich man of the house and then sent to get rid of her baby and then sent home presumably in disgrace and just like they never see her again. Classism. Yeah, that is that's heavy, you know, for like a subplot, for like subtext, that's heavy. The last book I'm going to talk about is The Diamond Girls, and I love this book. I feel some type of way about it. I absolutely adored this one when I was younger, and I never had a physical copy of it because, like, my mum was one of those mums who was like, you can get it from the library, so why should I buy you one? So I would constantly get it from the library to read it over and over again because Dixie was me. The main character of this is the youngest of four girls, and they live with just their mum. They've all got different dads, and it's this mad family dynamic that I absolutely love. You know by now that I love reading about girls. Get the men out of my books. Dixie's a bit weird. And she's not very clever because she's always daydreaming, she's always off in her own little world. And like, this was me as a child. There's so much I like about it. Like, this is going to be all over the place. Like, I'm not prepared. One thing that I really like about this book is the mum character. Obviously, I said before, all of her kids have got different dads and stuff, and so on the estate that they're living in, she's got a bit of a reputation and nobody really likes her. So when she gets pregnant again, she decides this is time for a new start, and we're all going to move to a big house, and we're going to get out of this block of flats and live our best lives, right? Drama with the oldest daughter because she doesn't want to leave because she's got like a long-term boyfriend next door. By long-term, I mean maybe like a year. Second youngest daughter is like a proper tomboy and she's always going out and getting into fights and stuff. It's Jude. And then there's Raquel, who's like 14. And she always reminded me of my sister because she's really, really girly. And like she was the one who always picked on Dixie, who was like me. Makes me laugh because there's like 10 years between me and my sister. And yet I thought like a 14 and a 10-year-old, a 12 and a 10-year-old. Raquel's 12. A 12 and a 10-year-old reminded me of my sister. So what does that say about us? We all moved to this new estate with the help of one of Dixie's dad's friends because Dixie's mum and dad actually had, like, her dad had an affair with her mum, and so that's why her actual dad can't come, but he gets a mate to come and help them move, and this is who eventually becomes her Uncle Bruce, because she really like gets an attachment to him because she's never really known her dad and stuff. He kind of becomes like, not like a father figure, but definitely an uncle figure to all of the girls, because, you know, he sticks around because as soon as they get there, the mum goes into labour and he has to take her to hospital, and then he comes back, even though by all rights he shouldn't because they've all treated him like shit. He takes care of them until the mum gets back. This whole time the mum thought that she would be having a baby boy, and it turns out that she's having another girl, and she's all obsessed with tarot cards and star signs and stuff. Can't judge. But, you know, she thought she was having a boy, and she really wanted a boy because she's got loads of girls and she's never had a boy before, so she decides to just pretend that the baby's a boy for a little bit. So Dixie finds out about this, and the mum kind of convinces her that, you know, she should pretend with her. It's like, she's like, oh, you pretend all the time, Dixie. Why am I not allowed to pretend sometimes? And obviously Dixie's 10. She's like, obviously there's something not right with mum, but I don't know how to handle it, so I'm just going to go along with it for a bit longer and see what happens. And I just love the whole dynamic of the family. I love that it's all girls together. It doesn't matter that they've all got different dads because they're all there for the mum. Even though everybody on the estate calls the mum a slag, they're all there and they're like, no, we'll never call mum that. And one of the girls does actually call the mum that at one point, and then it's like this big deal because it's like the word that they would never say to her. I just love that even though they've all got these diverse personalities, when they really need each other, they're all there and they all come together as the Diamond Girls. It's just great. I do also really like Uncle Bruce. Like I said, he becomes like an uncle character to all of the girls, and he is really lovable in a kind of useless way. He does what he can. Do you know what I mean? There's this whole subplot where Dixie keeps going over the back garden wall to this posher estate that's over the alley. Meets this little girl there called Mary. There's little hints through what Dixie sees and hears about Mary's house that Mary's mum is not the nicest of mothers. She does stuff like cut Mary's nails right back to the quick because she's dirty and she doesn't deserve to have nice long nails. You know, she won't eat a crust, so she holds her nose until she opens her mouth and like rams the crust down her throat. That's quite a horrible scene. So Dixie, one day when Mary is upset, gives her bluebell. This bluebell, by the way, is another thing that I really love about this book. Like, I bet a lot of you do too, okay, so don't judge, have a toy from when I was younger that is like really, really special to me. And like, if anything happened to it, I would be so upset. She gives her bluebell budgie toy to Mary to cheer her up overnight, and then she's really, really worried that Mary's mom is going to throw this toy out because Mary was upset because she'd thrown her toy out, her childhood toy. Dixie runs around there as soon as she can and sees Mary in the top window. She's still got the budgie, thank fuck, but Mary jumps out the window. Yes, we've got another character jumping out of a window in a Jacqueline Wilson book. I know, it's bonkers. Dixie manages to catch her, and like she gets concussed, and I think she like breaks her legs and stuff. It makes mum snap out of her whole post-natal depression thing, which is like a bit of a cop-out for a happy ending, but I'll take it. But I really would have liked to know what happened with Mary and her mum, because it's just kind of implied that, you know, people found out that Mary's mum wasn't very nice and she's getting some help. And it's like, yeah, but what about Mary? It's just the right side of dark for me, but like Dixie as a character makes it really whimsical. It's all viewed through her like imaginative lens, and it gives it this wall between the darkness of what's being discussed. Family dynamic of the girls as well, even though they have arguments all the time and stuff, is so warm and so nice that it makes the dark stuff not so bad. Just this has been completely impromptu and probably a mess, but that's why it's called a questionable review, I guess. I'll see you next time.